We're going to start first with the adoption of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions? Hearing none, would someone approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a seconder?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Could we pause to seek guidance, please? Okay. Now we'll have the reading of the mission statement. To provide, promote, or facilitate municipal services that meet the community needs while preserving, supporting, and enhancing quality of life for all. Now we will do our presentations. The first one is Dan Harvey, the cold storage report. Can I have someone move for him to come forward, please?
So moved.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Dan, please come forward.
First off, I'd like to thank you for giving the opportunity to present to Council today about this work we've been engaged upon on your behalf since going back to last summer. I have to say it's one of the most comprehensive projects we've ever engaged upon in this area here, and I hope that you'll find after we present it that it's very fruitful. We did include in your package a brief overview and summary, so I'll go through it, and anytime, this is very informal. Any questions, just let me know. If not, we can deal with them at the end of the presentation. So here's what we did. We started off by trying to get an assessment of what the state of the cold storage infrastructure, both in agriculture and in fisheries, was in the area spanning from Kings County to Shelburne County. Okay, and large geographic area. We engaged a professional company, Denise Allison Research Associates, located in Metegan. And our approach was to go out to business owners at their place of business, face to face, and ask them a whole series of questions, okay? We also, in order to get good feedback on what people felt was important, we talked to everybody from government, industry associations, people in refrigeration, construction companies, equipment suppliers, you name it, we talked to a lot of people. Also, it was, I guess one of the real gems behind this idea was we visited the facility run by Eastern Cold Storage in Surrey, Prince Edward Island, and quite honestly, it was an excellent model to start from. It was quite inspiring. It was a very successful operation they had over there, looking at expansion after only 2 or 3 years, and I have to extend my sincere appreciation to that group. They were very open with us. They shared their learnings and a lot of very practical information that we can apply to our success here. And as well, coincidentally, when we got into it, we found out that the folks at Shetty Camp had undertaken a similar study about a year ago, okay, and they were very kind enough to share some of their data and learnings with us as well. So everybody was really behind us and helping us get this project done, and like I say, we're very, very appreciative. I should say, in Shetty Camp, they found that while the project was feasible, mainly to support a crab industry there, simply because of the magnitude of the capital project, they did not proceed with their project. It was feasible, but it came down to resources for them. And another important part we do is that sometimes when you ask somebody in a survey, interview kind of scenario, they'll say one thing, but do something radically different. So we're very careful, because we had a lot of money riding on this in terms of investment, to kind of validate what people said in the survey responses versus what some of the supporting data, if you will, came across with. So I'll speak to some of those numbers later on. But it was interesting. In fact, people were actually quite consistent in their actions versus what they responded to in the survey questions. So that was good. And as far as the financial side of it goes, you'll see later, we are talking a large amount of capital investment. So we found it very, very important to be credible and prudent, and maybe even a touch on the conservative side when we did up our financial projections. And the second part of that, we talk about benchmarking. Benchmarking is an approach whereby you take what's going on in the industry and you compare it to what your own local circumstance is, and it kind of gives you a guideline as to, I call it like a financial sanity check. And so we were able to access some very good independent data to, once again, to validate some of the stuff that we had put together as a result of our work. So, first 6 questions really here were, we went out and we talked to people. About 75% of the responses were, or surveys took place in the fisheries sector, and about 25% in agriculture. Our big thing here was we asked people, how much space do you have now, both to refrigerator and freezer space, because there's 2 aspects to cold storage. We asked them what the capacity was, how full are you now at the time of the survey, which was generally November, December. Do you ever get full, and what time is it? What kind of products you do? How old is your facility? And does your facility situation cost you money now? And once again, people were very, very open on that. This next question was kind of important because we want to identify 2 things. We want to identify people that might perceive this project as being a competitive one to them, and as well, I guess, if the project did prove feasible, we're also interested in identifying people we could talk to later on that maybe were already considering investment in this kind of a project to maybe consider what we had put together. An important one, too, would be, do you rent out your facilities now? Because once again, when you try and gauge what the existing capacity for storage is within the area, we also wanted to make sure that that a project like this would not unduly compete with somebody else that's out there. If there was all kinds of capacity now, there was no sense in pursuing it, but we didn't come across that at all, but we felt it appropriate to ask that question up front. So we're very pleased to report that 91% of all the people we asked these really extensive questions to agreed to answer them, okay, which was fantastic. I credit it to a number of things. I credit it to our face-to-face approach that we used. I credit it to the young lady we hired to ask these questions. She was very professional. We also had a little sweetener in there. We said if you answer the questions, we'll enter your name in a draw for a gift card. So I think that may have helped in some cases. But anyway, but 91% was outstanding for a survey. And the other important part too was all these questions, and these weren't all of them, just a partial list. We got 99% of the information that we were looking for. So when we went into the analysis phase of this survey, we had everything we needed. So here's what we found. We found that in agriculture, that overall the sector was pretty well serviced. Facilities were not that old. I think the average age was about 15 or 16 years. Peak season capacity was only 68%, okay, which tells us that there was a lot of room there. We did find that some demand related to mink feed, which is no surprise for our area, given how big the mink industry is. People were saying now that that it was taking up an increasing significant portion of the existing space. And we had a real big surprise. We talked to the vice president of the Nova Scotia Cranberries Association, and he said, he says every year we process 8 million pounds of cranberries, and he says a lot of it goes to New Brunswick. He says, and we're always scrambling for space. So that was kind of a hidden surprise that came out of our investigations. That's good. Fisheries, capacity was 88% peak season for refrigerated products, and like when you think of it too, anything that's refrigerated you want to sell quick, right? So there's a lot of turnover there. But freezer space was a huge opportunity, particularly related to bait. Okay, we learned a lot about bait when we get into this. Obviously, for the lobster industry, you need a steady supply of bait. You need lots of it, and you need it at a very affordable price. So, I say it's vital. That's kind of obvious there. We also found out that there's huge amounts of bait being imported from outside the province, Quebec and Newfoundland. Our data showed that bait is actually the number 3 cost that a lobster harvester incurs. So bait is going to be a big part of the plan here. Fisheries, it wasn't all about bait, however. We did find that, the ground fish is still pretty good, shellfish, particularly scallops, obviously, and stuff like that. So there's lots of demand between those last two bullets there to justify a freezer facility for fisheries. And this was important, too. We wanted to gauge how open people were to using somebody else's facility. okay? We actually found that, that today there's 122 million pounds of product projected, estimated, like, are presently being stored in freezer facilities now. So that told us, well, yes, people said that they were open to this, but they're actually doing it too, going back to that cross-check mechanism we need to put in there. So that was very, very good to hear. And we actually got that not just from the data, but from the way that people cooperated with both myself and our research assistant as well. So, we didn't have anybody, or very, very few people that didn't like what we were asking, So it was pretty good to see. This is a sample here. We talk about bait. This is a sample label that was being used in Surrey for those people. So it's got the person's name on it, told you when it's packed. So like it's their bait, because people are very particular about their bait. Picture here is actually a snapshot of the outside of the Surrey PEI facility, Eastern Cold Storage. Their facility is actually 22,000 square feet. We figured by our calculations that with all the demand that we identified, that the facility of 28,500 square feet could be located here in the Digby Industrial Park. It would be feasible and it would be sustainable. We also recommended that based on what people told us, that the kind of service that would be required would be blast freezing. There's some freezing options there, but blast freezing was the one that made the most sense. Bait processing and packaging. In other words, people could pull up to the back door there with a truckload of mackerel or redfish or something, and they could put it inside, and they could have it put in plastic bags and boxed and blast frozen, and then put in that box you saw on the previous slide to when they needed it. So, and providing the infrastructure to do that. We did not find anybody that's doing that model in this area throughout the survey. Okay, in fact, we found that most people, when we come to bait, are charging a lot for bait and making good money off it. So we feel that this model would definitely be supported. Price tag, $6 million plus, and you look at that and you say, well, gee, that's a lot of money, but quite honestly, there's a lot more. We found out that this, when we ranked the size of this facility, what's going on in North America, it's actually on the small end. Okay, even though it's bigger in Surrey, but the approach here was to recommend a facility that could be prove itself financially, and then you can always expand later. And that's an approach that's highly recommended, I think, in that kind of a thing there. Because once you build it too big and you have all those fixed costs there, you can't scale back. Here's one thing we found out from our data. This is a very, very profitable industry. Anybody that's doing this, both in Canada and in the U.S., there's a financial measure called EBITDA, which is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. In the industry, on that line, people are making 28.4% profit. Before you pay something like this is, I don't want to say gold mine, but it's a highly profitable industry. The Canadian data that I obtained showed that 75% of anybody that's doing this is making a profit, and some of the average profit in Canada was actually 52.8% profit. So this is worth doing. If I'm an investor, if it was my money, properly structured, you can make a buck at it. Push that again. So I just spoke to that line there. It's very sustainable. So the next step, I would ask that you give consideration to formally accepting this report. We need to get approval for a marketing plan. I've worked with Terry Thibodeau, who's been your representative on the project team here, as well as representative from Agriculture and Fishery. What we are recommending is that we have a high-level document, very similar to what I included in your package there for now, that we would show to people that had expressed an interest in this. For those that were deemed, and I guess we'd have to do a bit of checking out, people who we think are serious about it, we would ask them to sign a non-disclosure agreement. to give them full access to that report. There is a lot of proprietary information in that since you as a council have invested in, I think that you want to keep for your own benefit. So I think we need to tightly control that, like the document there, and we can set up in such a way that somebody who signs a non-disclosure agreement, if they decide that they don't want to do it, well, we get that back, okay? So it doesn't disappear into who knows where, okay? We're hoping to work with potential investors to line up both financing and government assistance. Just by virtue of doing the survey, we had a number of people that came forth and said, you know what, I think this is a good idea, talk to me later. So next step would be to talk to those people later. And as well, the government assistance part, when we did our economic viability analysis, we think it would qualify for a fair degree of government assistance, but you never know, right? You know, we don't know what's out there, if this would have competitive impact for previously funded projects. But from what I see, certainly it would qualify for things like efficiency Nova Scotia type rebates and all kinds of other stuff. In terms of jobs, we project that there would be about 3 full-time jobs year-round, and then seasonally between 12 and 20, depending on the activity level. But that's kind of what Surrey is doing. For somebody that is willing to invest in this, once they have their financing in place, you would go to a builder like J.W. Lindsay or somebody, and you would say, okay, we have this concept that's included in the document here, but I'd like to fine-tune it a bit. So for example, let's say that the investor was a fleet owner. Well, he may want to incorporate ice-making capacity into a facility like this. That's not shown there now, but in other words, the person that's putting up the money obviously would have the final say as to what they want to go to spec on, so, which makes sense. And then we get her built. Okay. Having said that, any questions, Mona?
Jimmy?
Dan, with the $6 million price tag, does that allow for a freezer big enough that would accommodate expansion of the building if there was business there for it? No. The freezer is sized just for the size of the facility that is recommended for now. Okay, but not the freezer. That's not what I meant. But like all the other stuff that has to freeze. Like I don't know how a blast freezer works, so I guess.
Oh, okay.
Like.
Yeah, okay. You're right. There are 2 freezing components. If I can speak to it this way,
Right.
you have 2 rooms, probably like one about half the size of this, that you put product in and you blast freeze it there, and then it gets moved into a larger warehouse type facility,
Right.
which is another kind of freezing.
Yeah.
So you could probably get away with the same amount of blast freezing space,
That'd be. Yeah.
and then you would simply expand
Expand
the
the
warehouse
warehouse.
portion.
Right.
That's the way I think it would work.
Yeah. That makes sense. So, I guess the thing is when if this goes forward and someone builds it, they could put the equipment in place that maybe would accommodate, if they wanted to add another 10,000 square feet to the building type thing, or would they have to put in another compressor and all that?
Probably would, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyone else? George?
Do you think you got enough people online, or like involved to cover most of that $6 million, or without government assistance and stuff? Do you think there's enough?
We don't.
Interest?
In truth, we don't. I think there's interest, but I think we need to show people these numbers, first. It looks good, George, if I can say that, just judging by the feedback.
You get a feel for it, right?
Yeah, no, I do. I think, and if you look at the projections, and you take it to a banker or an accountant, like the returns are pretty good. If you say, if I took my $6 million and I put it somewhere else, would I make as much money? Probably not. This is a pretty good return to it.
So when's peak season? Fall till spring, spring till fall?
Just before the start of LFA 34, people stock up on bait, and then once the season starts, like away you go, you're off to the races, and then as the herring and mackerel stocks and the redfish come on, people will catch them in the storms when they need them.
David?
You suspect having a freezer locally would actually impact the overall price of bait for the local fishermen?
They should be able to get their bait at a discount compared to what they're paying now.
Okay, and what about having a spot like that? Would that encourage, say, a local bait fishery? They'd have somewhere actually to put it and wouldn't have to ship it. Would that be a possibility? Or?
Oh, yeah. This really is what we're talking about. You call it a bait fishery. It's I'm not sure if people would, well, I don't know, but perhaps somebody would just do it, to just fish bait and nothing else because there's good money in it, okay? But generally, it's decent. Anybody that has a lobster license today generally has another associated licenses, like for mackerel and herring and so on. So those people would certainly be the users.
You might be able to spread the working season then.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you very much. Very interesting.
Okay, my question is, you didn't mention District 35 for lobster. They're not as lucrative as 34?
You would get some people from 35 as well. Yeah, for sure. I did not mention it, but yeah.
No, but I was just saying, you were saying when your seasons would hit, but theirs is a different season than L34.
It is, yeah. There's actually, I think it would be, if I could use the word tangential, because there's actually a fair bit of capacity down in Shelburne County,
Okay.
things like this. I think that most of them would, unless they were full, that they would go there first because it's closer.
Oh, okay. Linda?
Just question on the marketing plan. You mentioned that, approval for that. What would that entail?
I guess we're asking approval that we would only make that document available if somebody signs a non-disclosure agreement. That's really the point we'd like to get your feedback on.
Anybody else? Ruth? Jeff? Okay, well, Dan, thank you so much for giving, we know it's been a lot of work, and
You did some good work.
it's been just, the updates at the DDA, it's been very interesting coming along. So, thank you, and the acceptance of the report we can do tonight. So Jimmy,
I was just going to make a motion to accept the cold storage report.
is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
The marketing approval plan, I would think we'd want to do.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to implement the marketing report as recommended.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Was there another? No, I meant,
No,
was there
no.
another? Okay, or taking.
You guys can.
Okay, we can keep going?
Yep.
Okay, the next is Sean
Thanks a lot, Dan. Awesome.
The next is Sean Fredericks, the Digby BMX and Skateboard Association. Could I have someone move for him to come forward,
So
please?
moved.
Is there a seconder?
So
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Have a seat, sir.
Thank you. Try to get through this without going into a coughing fit.
All of it.
Yeah. Must be the season. Got it. Warden and Council, thank you for letting me present here tonight to you. I assume everyone has had a chance to review the information package that I submitted prior to the meeting. As most of you are aware, there has been previous groups interested in setting up a skate park in Digby. With this in mind, we set up a group in September 2014 with the intention of raising enough funds to be able to have one built in 2015. The timeline is short as the cost has been scaled down from the previous groups, and several locations have been selected as possibilities. Also, given our experience with raising funds with the DES playground, we are more likely to raise the funds if the timeline is tighter, rather than extending it over several years. As indicated in my information package, my son is 12 now, and I don't want him or his friends having to wait another 3 or 4 years for something to be built. Also, I believe there is a good chance to have the $45,000 project finance a third by the Recreation Facility Development Grant that is administered by Nova Scotia Health and Promotion. Another $15,000 will be from donations from businesses and individuals, with the remaining third coming from fundraising. For the DES playground, the total cost of the project was $116,000, with $50,000 covered by Let Them Be Kids. $55,000 came from donations by businesses and individuals, with the remaining coming from donations. This was all raised within a year, with the bulk of the funds coming in the last month. The response after making our Facebook site live in November confirmed there is interest in the community for a park, as several parents as well as individuals were wanting to help with the project. While the quote I had submitted is not carved in stone, it is approximately the cost we are looking at. Greenwood has a similar setup at their skate park. As indicated in the information package, the town will be allowing us to build the park on the land in the upper corner of the Don Brown Memorial Ball Field, behind the shelter for the crossing guard. This location was selected due to its central location to sports fields, arena, schools, as well as within sight of the RCMP detachment. It is expected that once the snow clears and the weather is warmer, clearing of the site for the park can be done. While the park is scheduled to be completed in the fall, if our funding goals are met earlier than that, then we will move forward with the project earlier. This will allow the kids to have more time at the park prior to winter. Grant applications have already been sent in to Nova Scotia Health and Promotion, Southwest Health for wellness funds, and other grants are being explored as well. A fundraising campaign involving Subway is going well, and another will be offered through Pizza Delight. Actually, that just started this week. We will be present during the spring and the summer event at the Digby Arena in June, as well as the summer festivals and Wharf Rally. In closing, the project will be moving forward, and the town has or will be providing the following. A long-term lease is required at the end of the project, showing that the town assumes ownership of the property. Thus, the grant application to Nova Scotia Health and Promotion has already been signed by a representative of the town. Tax-deductible receipts for those that contribute to our project will be issued by the town. Town resources in the form of labor, land, and eventually caretaking the facility, which will be done by DARC. And a request for funds have been made to the town's grants and contributions and organizations program. The purpose for presenting tonight is to provide you with our plans for the project, to give an update on where we are, and to request from the municipality a monetary contribution towards the park. Given the town is providing the above, and there will be many kids from outside the town who will be benefiting from the skate park, some of whose parents are on the committee, we feel $5,000 to be a reasonable request. Please note that this is a one-time request for funds. Once it's built, there is not a need to continuously fundraise as with organized sports, due to the fact that there is a concrete pad which does not need maintaining, and the equipment is guaranteed for 20 years. Basically, all there is for upkeep is to empty the garbage and mow around the pad. Thank you again for allowing me to present tonight, and if you have any questions.
I'm going to start off. When I read your report, you talked about a scooter. Are you talking about a motorized?
No, it's just a, you know.
Because I was thinking, oh my God.
That would set off a whole different dynamic in the car.
So what scooter are you talking about?
It's
What-
just a flat deck with two wheels, one in the front, one in the back, and it has
The stick on it?
Yeah, with a stick on it. that you
Okay,
ride.
when my kids were kids, honest to God, when I read your report and I said BMX bikes, I could understand. But when you said the scooter, I went, oh my God, because I could visualize all these kids
Yeah.
driving scooters.
We definitely won't allow those in there.
Okay. Now, Jimmy,
A couple things. Does that land allow you any room for expansion or growth? Like,
I had measured just before the snow hit, and where the ball field is,
yeah,
we have to, I'm thinking perhaps we can go with a curved area. If we end up raising more money, I would like to build a pad larger. I have it, I think, in there as 50 by 60. I think from what we've talked to the Canadian Ramp Company, they usually go up to 100, like 50 or 60 by 100. And if we can raise enough funds, we'll build a larger pad. But there is adequate land there. Like we may have to go parallel to Victoria Street coming out from...
yeah, I was thinking more on lines that you go forward with this project as presented, but down the road in a few years, if there was interest in to expand it, would the land actually accommodate growth?
I believe so, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And,
Prefer not to expand it. Well, as you know, with cement pads, you can't really butt them up
no,
and stuff like that. But if there is a way to do that, we will
yeah,
perhaps incorporate a bowl or something like that.
yeah. I'm glad you're going forward with this, or you're working on this for the youth, because, I mean, this has been going on now for
My nephew.
close to 15 years
Mhm,
now that
yes.
they've been talking. Even my son, when he was growing up, he was into skateboarding, and they wanted to have a park at that time, but it's never ever gotten off the ground. With recreation, I noticed that they're going to manage the site.
Mhm.
Are they going to actually, are they going to be covering this in their blanket insurance coverage too, to have
Yes,
insurance?
Yes.
yeah. It'd be similar to what they've done with the MOPS playground there.
Same
That was
idea?
built in 2009.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I like what you're proposing, so.
Thank you.
David, did you have
I
a
like what
question?
you're proposing. A lot of these things, I think it's location.
Mhm.
You got a fantastic location.
Yes, yeah. The locations that were selected before this, a couple years ago, there was another, I say a group, but there was only 2 individuals and some kids, but the Heritage Center was, beside there, was selected as a good location, but the town didn't own the land. It's owned by Canadian National Railway, and, it just, I walk by the ball field every night with my dog, and I thought, this is perfect, it's, the land's there, it's not being used, it's central to everything, and
Good for the businesses too along that stretch.
exactly, the fast food restaurants close to Sobeys, and also a washroom on site now with the community garden, so, yeah.
I didn't know that.
George?
When you got your pad and everything, yeah, you gonna have it fenced in, or is it just gonna be?
It's just going to be open.
Just open?
One thing that we may have to do because of the risk of errant balls coming into the park, we may have to erect like higher netting
Yeah.
or something like
Yeah.
that, but that's the only.
Well, I hope you succeed. I think you've got the know-how to fundraise behind you from
Okay.
after having done the school, and it
Yeah.
sounds like you know what you're doing.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully you can pull it off. That's good. Fine.
Yes.
Anyone else want to ask any questions? This will be referred to our budget process,
Mhm.
of course, and we know your amount,
Mhm.
so so there's no decision made today
No,
or
I
anything.
didn't think there would be, no.
Yeah, we're just starting the budget process actually this month,
Okay,
and it takes us a little while to go
Yes.
through it.
yeah. Yep, I understand that.
So. I'm going to say something a little special.
Mhm.
Young man, would you like to tell us why you'd like to have a skateboard park? Would you like to come up and tell us? With Dad? I just asked in case he
Linda, he's
wanted.
scaring children.
No. He looked very interested.
He's
as
not
Dad
usually
was
shy, so
talking.
this is quite different for him.
Can you tell us why you think it's a good idea?
I think it'd be a good idea to get a skate park in Digby because, we travel a lot up to different parks in different places that are like 2 hours away and stuff like that. And
It'd be nice to be in your own backyard.
Mhm.
Yeah, I hate to tell you, but that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
You're a nice, bright young man,
just,
so
We'll take his thoughts into consideration. in the
Yeah.
decision-making
very much.
process.
well, for the
very
parents, they have to drive him up there too.
Oh, do you?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, really?
Although there is a bus now, so perhaps this summer he'll be going on the bus.
You never know.
No, exactly.
So I really thank you for coming up to speak to us. It takes a lot of courage sometimes to talk to us old people.
Scary old people.
But your mother's not afraid of anything, and your father's not afraid of anything, so I can't see you being afraid of anything.
He's the
No.
true extrovert in the family. Just not
So-
us.
Is there anything else that you want to comment on, Sean?
No, that would be it.
We really appreciate you coming forward. I like the report you said, except my own concern was actually the scooter. I was
Oh,
just...
yes, yeah.
Motor
no.
scooters everywhere.
Oh,
Oh, I
Terrifying.
couldn't believe when he was saying kids are interested, and I'm thinking, oh.
Mhm. There's no guarantee during Wharf Rat Rally that we'll be able to keep the motorcycles off.
Oh, no. That's true,
Yeah.
that's true. But anyway, so thank you so much for coming. And we will, like I said, put this in on our budget.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking us on, it's awesome.
Thank you.
That's a nice young man. Okay, the next is approval of council minutes of February 23rd, 2015. Is there any errors or admissions?
I'll move for acceptance of the minutes.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Old business or business arising from those minutes is second and final reading of the amendment to the Heritage Bylaw.
Actually, if I may,
Yep.
just have a word to this. On the agenda, under new business, there's actually
Letters?
proposed amendments to the Heritage Act that council's being asked to
Yeah, I saw that.
comment on.
Yeah.
One of the recommendations is actually that the makeup of a Heritage Advisory Committee be changed to 2 council members and any number of citizens. The idea is to allow more citizen representation on the Heritage Advisory Committee is why we wanted to do it. So currently, our amendment was to have 1 counselor and 5 citizen members. So I'm not sure if we go forward with this amendment, that if to this bylaw, that because it's an amendment, it's a bylaw that has to get ministerial approval. If these amendments go through the Heritage Act, they may not approve it.
So you want it tabled?
Up.
Just a second.
What do you want us to do?
Well, I guess that's what I don't know if council
Okay.
has any ideas.
Jimmy, and then,
Is the spirit of this actually, the proposed 2, is that actually trying to get people to take a step back? Is that the idea of this amendment, to actually, that we're not so many politicians and less people? Because if that's the intent, us going to 1 might still be within the
I
intent.
think
We're simplifying.
what we intended to do was to have it so that there'd be more and better more citizen representation at the table. I think that's the same intent that the amendment to the act had, but they still had indicated that the amendment was going to be for 2 counselors and then any number of citizen members. So I think we were doing it because our bylaw indicated we had would be a 6-member committee. So 1 would be a counselor and 5 would be. So we may have to table this and just until the amendments, until we find out how long it'll be before the recommendations are adopted in the act.
Jimmy.
It doesn't affect our current committee.
I think we can continue
We
on.
can continue on, so this is just to ratify or make it formal, the decision that we made as a council. But I think when we get to the business of talking about
Yeah.
those recommendations they want input from, I think we could speak on it. I'd like to speak on it at that time,
Okay.
because I think it should be, instead of a maximum of 2, it should be a minimum of 1. And that way, because basically all they're looking for is to have liaison between the Heritage Committee as an advisory group to council. So I don't see really where they need to, the way I read it anyway.
I mean, what we could do, we could pass the second reading of this and send it in,
Yeah.
along with their comments, and see what happens. If they don't approve it, then we can just go back and review it, and if they approve it, based on what what the intention is, then,
I'd like to see us just do that, because, I mean, there's a lot of other things that I'd like to have us have feedback on with what they'd asked questions on. And, like, I think if we ratified this tonight and sent it in, then, because we've got a council of 5, and we're one of the small, well, we are, as far as rural councils go,
Small.
5 is as low as you go.
Yeah.
And you got a council with 10 or 12 people, well, yeah, they could put a couple people on there and think nothing of it, but, so really, they're not even addressing that issue of the council size when they're talking about the number of councilors that serve on a committee.
well, if they changed it to a minimum of 1, and then a maximum of
2,
There you go, yeah.
then that would give the choice for this, like you say, the smaller
Right.
councils.
yeah.
Okay.
I think, personally, I'd rather not table this. I'd just soon see us pass it and see what happens.
I want to hear from George.
I like the idea of minimum of one, maximum of two, depending on, allows for council size. That was good.
Marissa? Oh, sorry. I
I think we
apologize.
should move ahead.
Okay.
I pretty much said what Jimmy did. And also, there is a move maybe to include commentary back to the minister, say that they do want smaller councils. And so maybe the minimum of one, maximum of two would facilitate that idea. So is Jimmy's the motion, is it?
All right.
I'll make
Now,
a motion.
All right.
I'll second it.
Second and final reading of the amendment to the Heritage Bylaw was by Maritza, seconded by Jimmy. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Age-friendly community plan. See it?
Yep, I got her.
Okay. Now, with the age-friendly community plan, what was the wishes of council?
I wasn't here, so I'm not sure which parts we were just having discussion around. You remember?
And we sort of put it
Some
off
month-
because we wanted to talk to you, yeah. Or hear your thoughts on it.
I don't know which ones it was that you were concerned about.
There was none in particular.
We just,
We can move the,
it's your baby, you should name it.
move the approval of the plan, is that what you're asking for
Yes.
then? Okay, I'll make that motion.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? Jimmy?
I think one of the questions I had was pertaining to transportation, and I'm just looking at it here right now. It says, encourage government to provide subsidized transportation options for people of low income. And then it goes on to say, transportation companies cannot be expected to carry the cost to ensure high-risk and vulnerable people have basic transportation needs met. Then write letters, presentations to councils, partnerships. I don't understand, because we already have transit in place. Like, you know, we have
And we have
King's
Claire.
We have King's Transit in place, and we also have the agreement with Transport to Clare.
Yes.
So, and the next thing is, like, introduce volunteer and carpooling programs for remote and isolated people. Many low-income and isolated people do not have access to current transportation routes and options. And then it's got partner with Transport to Clare to attract and support volunteer drivers in the, like, I guess,
We're already doing
I don't
that. Those are
understand
things
why
that
it's
we're-
there, because we're already
Use the
doing
word
all that.
approve
Well, I
and
think
encourage.
it's important it's in there, and I think it's something that's ongoing and continuing.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's there now, I think it's important that we continue to work with Transport to Clare,
And, yeah,
moving down into the future.
I agree, but shouldn't there have been something there to identify the fact that these are things that we're already doing? These are programs that are already in place? I'm just asking the question, because I didn't sit on the committee, and I was just wondering,
When I read this over, I just assumed they were looking at it as if I came into the community, it's for us, for people to understand, but I could have been wrong. David?
You could also maybe, I was just sort of looking at it as improve and encourage, you know, when implements, things like that come up. You know, it's always going to be a work in progress. And maybe, I don't know if it would be problematic to change those words to improve and encourage within the document, or we could just approve it knowing that that's how we're going to view it. So those are the two options for this argument. Is that fair?
Not an argument.
I think with
But there's a
any,
goal, and then
with any
there's-
plan, I think there is, and part of the action items will be, I mean, this is like it's like a 5-year plan, I believe, and it will be flexible and will be evolving as,
but I guess
as time.
the reason why I asked the question is, like, say, for example, when we do a strategic plan, we don't list something we're already doing, do we?
No, but there's always room for improvement.
but that's not the way this is worded. I mean, I don't want to make a big deal out of it, but I guess the thing is like, that was what I had raised when we talked about it before when Maritza wasn't here. That's what and I was just questioning, why is it there the way it's worded? Where I appreciate the fact it's there because there's a need for transportation.
There's still more volunteer drivers needed.
So how would you like to change it?
I
That's
don't think
fine,
it should-
don't bother change it, but I mean,
Oh.
like, I just wanted to,
Yes, I still
Discuss
see,
that.
there still needs to be work.
it's fine.
Oh, maybe, what about putting a opening paragraph towards interpretation of the document, this is an ongoing.
We don't want to do that. Just leave it as it is. I think,
But we gotta,
That maybe 2 years ago when we started this process, or 3 years ago,
Like
there
forever.
wasn't the programs
much
that are
as
in
there
place
is.
now.
I'm going to call question on the motion.
okay, question has been called. All in favor?
aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Oh, I love that.
We'll take your
Keep that in
comments.
mind.
Parks and open space strategy.
That's my, I
Okay,
like
I had that
this.
one too. I had questions on that one too,
Okay,
just as soon as I find it. I thought we were going to discuss that at the bylaw and policy.
Yeah,
meeting.
because this big,
Well, we were going to discuss, well, I think council had the presentation. We hadn't accepted the report at that time after it was presented. But then in order to discuss, and the items we were going to discuss specifically during budget would be the amount of an annual
Right.
not donation, but allocation to whether or not we want to set up trails. Look at some of the recommendations and the actions.
I move that we accept the report.
But see, I thought we were going, like, we'd made a motion just to cover a couple things so we could move forward on it, but we were still going to have the discussion on the document.
But I don't know, there's parts of the document.
No,
I mean,
I've-
you can't take it, bits and pieces, I guess. It's got to be approved, to be
Then we can
accepted,
discuss
and
it.
then we can look at.
Implement his
What
Yeah,
assessment.
but
we
we
can
can't
implement
make
it in a
changes to it
timeline.
later, can we?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can.
Well, once we approve it, it's our report, but I guess if there's glaring things.
No, I mean, I'm just asking, because I thought we were going to have more of an in-depth discussion on it at a bylaw and policy meeting. And what we had talked about the other day was, you picked out a couple things there.
The two things that we had looked at, well, number one was the amount during budget, if we approve this, is whether or not we take, I think, look at one of the action items, which was to establish a annual trail reserve
Right.
amount. The second one was to actually appoint a second counselor to a committee.
No, I remember now why I raised that and why I thought we were going to have more discussion is because the way this was worded, it identified a few groups that would be eligible to apply for some funding, but it did not touch on the lighthouses or the lighthouse groups. Remember when I mentioned that the other day?
Yes, I do.
And so I thought we were going to have further discussion on that.
Okay,
So, because I would have thought that if it's silent on whether or not people like the Friends of the Lighthouse Group can apply for funding, it's not mentioned in this strategy.
I thought we could amend it any time, though. Once we can accept it, look through it. It's not, a lot of the wordings like consider and stuff like that. It's not legally binding that we have to
it
give 50
wouldn't
grand.
stop a group like the Friends of
Well-
whatever lighthouses from,
I want to get this here action item up because the way it was worded,
which one?
I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, well, you're looking, George?
There was a couple of statements in there somewhere where it listed the organizations that could apply, and there were like trail
Right.
associations and stuff that could apply for money, but I don't think the intent of that
It's
document is to
exclusionary.
exclude anybody, it's to,
Well-
if they need funds, then they apply, and then we decide.
I'm trying to
whether-
find it.
I don't think
All right.
it's meant to limit.
Develop a process for community groups to apply to the municipal open space management funding?
There you go.
No, but they had, does that list, I can't see it, does that list the names of the groups?
No.
Later
Well-
on, somewhere later on, it doesn't mention.
But the way it's worded, I thought it was only those groups that were going to be eligible to apply
It
for funding.
sounded like that, but
That's the way it was
again, it might have
worded.
been only, you had to be a member of those associations to apply for money for trails and things like that.
That's right, and that's what I had a problem with, because it identified only
Okay.
certain groups that could apply for funding.
All right, Jeff has it.
So what they had done was, they identified some of the groups, like you say, somewhere else in the report, of examples of groups that would or could. That's not the policy, right? The report is not forming the policy that we're going to adopt. We have to, or that committee is being formed to establish the policy that would then apply to A7, develop a process for community groups, and we would determine
Who the community groups
who
were.
the community groups were. The report was just an example of some of the
Groups
types
like.
of community groups, yeah, groups like.
So it was examples. Jimmy?
I found what I wanted to read. It's 5.5, open space funding. Not-for-profit groups must be members of either SANS, Snowmobilers Association of Nova Scotia, the All-Terrain Vehicle Association of Nova Scotia, the Nova Scotia Off-Road Riders Association, or the Nova Scotia Trails Federation, and operating under the policies and principles of that organization. So the way I understood it, those are the only 4 groups that could actually be eligible for putting forward a request for some funding.
Okay. Jeff?
We asked them to include sample policies, so that again, the committee now has a model, and we add our list to it. Those are just sample
So
policies.
that's not
That's
our
just
The
list.
same as there's a
Sample.
bylaw written in there,
Okay.
right? When we adopt the report, that does not kick into effect the bylaw that we're putting the $50,000 into. It's just, they gave us the exact wordings, so
All
that
right.
for the committee, they can pull those hopefully and
Okay.
modify them if they so
Right now,
choose.
we had a motion to accept the Parks and Open Space Strategy, and that was made by David. Is there a seconder
I'll
to that?
second that.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. At this time, at the last meeting, David was very interested in belonging to this, wasn't it, David?
Oh, I'd take this
So
one.
could we have someone appoint David to the Parks and Open Space Strategy Committee?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Congratulations.
And let me know when the meeting is.
It was yesterday. You missed it.
Probably.
New business.
Promise that.
Funding requests. The 3 funding requests we have are the Learning Grove, Digby Area Tourism Association, and Gulf of Maine Institute. Could someone so move that they be moved to
Budget.
budget process, please?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. The next, written response to proposed amendments to the Heritage Property Act and regulations for the Heritage Conservation Districts.
That's the one I want to get to.
This is the one we had up into June, right? Am I off on that?
I believe so, yes.
That's the one we're just looking at.
I just didn't want us to wait too long on this either.
Well, what are you looking for this, because we'd already, I
I'm
thought this
just,
is what we'd already
I'm just,
discussed.
I'm just getting to it.
There's numerous amendments.
There was numerous,
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah, that was only
That
one
was just
little
one of them,
piece.
yeah. But that was the one
Yeah,
that
okay,
just
yeah.
stuck out to me.
Can I?
Yes, Jimmy?
Okay, under proposal number 3, the proposed amendment is the composition of the Heritage Advisory Committee. I'd like for our council to submit that we would see the amendments state that be a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 2 councilors that would sit on the Heritage Advisory Committee. And there's more here too.
You want to do that separately and then
Well,
talk
there's
about the other
there's
ones, or-
there's other.
No, there's others. I
others.
think
Group.
we should be doing it now. There was one I had too.
They're asking questions if we have concerns, and so we really, to be honest, we should be going through each one. Just-
I wonder, just for, if the Heritage Committee would look at them and maybe
Make recommendations. to
make
council.
recommendations to council. If we do have the time, that might be, you know,
Okay.
the way to go. They're more familiar with the act than
And
we
they can-
are.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
definitely
we-
want Rob.
Other
They
than
have
the
a
one
meeting.
that we,
In April, and they'll, you know, and know it's gonna be going through it.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, except the first one, the one with
Yeah,
the,
well,
with
that
the
one's gonna go in
composition
anyway.
should be decided by the council.
Yep.
Yeah, this is something I'd like to,
So
have
Marissa, can you
Rob's
set up a meeting?
extensive thoughts on.
You're the chair,
I
right?
mean, It's what he does.
And you have the forms,
Yeah.
and maybe they could send those out to the people ahead of time? Okay, so we are bringing, and I would ask that you have recommendations back to us by committee of the whole of the May meeting.
There's one more question I had.
Okay, go ahead.
When the Heritage Advisory Committee considers this, one of the topics is to whether or not we want a municipal heritage conservation district. And you have to be careful when you look at that. Like that, when I look at that, I think of Lunenburg, for example, where they have all the houses
Yep.
of similar stature, they can only paint them a certain color, and like, I guess those are the concerns I have about that. And I don't know, I guess my point would be is when this goes to the Heritage Advisory Committee, they take that into consideration, what the impacts are on the homeowner as well.
Yeah, because there's one in the valley as well.
District.
Williams, no,
Canning?
Grand Prairie maybe, in that area anyway,
Yeah, okay.
because I went to a conference that was there,
Yeah.
or a meeting, yeah.
Okay. So is that all right to be, that gives you lots of time to have it ready and back to us as a report and for us to send it on after we approve it at council in May?
And I-
Okay.
And I think if any council members have anything
Input.
specifically they
We can send
want,
it on
send
to
it
you.
directly to.
Because it was something I had too, and I'll have to go through it again to find where it was.
Send it to Rob maybe, and then he can put it all together for the meeting?
Okay.
You want to send to Robert, or?
Yeah, because then he can put it all together with sending out the package and the
All right. The next is the chief administrator's,
no,
did I miss something?
very
Oh,
important.
sorry.
Very
Notice of
important.
intent to change name of road.
Where's the street?
Okay, I had asked
I apologize.
Linda whether as it's a conflict of interest for me, so I will leave if you want to have the discussion, but I'm just going to add one more little thing to this. Since we filled out this application, we have applied to change the farm name to Adams Family Farm. So the whole thing kind of fits in everything. We did get a letter saying that has been reserved for us, so
Your farm has been changed.
our farm will be changed. We sent
Okay.
that papers in, everything's gone in.
Are you the only
All right.
people on there?
Yeah, well,
Okay, you can
we
ask
can't,
questions.
we can't ask her any more questions.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah,
Oh, we
you can.
can?
I can answer
Well,
questions.
I just
I think
asked,
it
I
makes
see there's an
sense to have the
answer right here.
information.
One.
There's two people, on the road,
Us, yeah.
and the other people.
So have you
On the
talked
other
to them?
piece, yes.
Jimmy?
Yeah, I had a question for Maritza regarding that too. With the map, it goes from the Brighton number 1
Yep.
highway back to the Bloomfield Road, and then it carries over to the Ridge Road. Is that all called the Bloomfield Cross Road currently?
It is.
Right from there to there?
Yep,
And is there houses on?
One.
One other house?
my corner, at the corner,
Where, on the Ridge Road?
right at the corner there, yeah.
Of
On the Ridge Road.
On the Ridge Road?
No, sorry, no, he's on Bloomfield Cross.
On the Bloomfield Cross Road?
Right where, just before Ridge Road,
Here,
right there.
so, okay. Would we,
Yeah?
would we not have to talk to him as well?
Oh,
Yeah.
Over any consideration of changing the name of the road?
He's not interested.
So he doesn't want,
You can talk to him. He said he hasn't had any problems the first time we discussed it with him, but the second time we talked to him, he said they have had some problems with deliveries and that kind of thing. So, I don't know.
because the policy
Can you
does
just change
require.
that first section of the road was our question.
I think part of the policy does talk about compass direction of roads from one end to the other.
I know.
So that, it's a little different situation than the Gilbert's Cove where it
Yeah.
stops and goes and turns and goes a different direction. So that's the only concern, I guess, I would have as a,
I was thinking that would be too, so.
yeah. But unless he can get permission from him.
who has to get the permission?
We have to do something because one of these days we're going to have,
Well, I think there has to be like a survey, I think that's what we had in the
Yeah, that's what they
policy, it
said.
talks about, there has to be like a survey by the applicant, just to
Yeah.
make sure that the people are willing, you know, and in this case, there's only two,
Two.
one other besides yourself, so
Go
we can have that.
Footprints or something.
Then then it's up to council to send it to, like, the building department, who's the civic addressing person to start the process. So, with only 2 people on the, you know.
That should be pretty easy then, so we simplifies the process with one other house.
No, if they don't go for it, then we're still stuck with,
It's a lot easier to get one person to agree than 10.
oh yeah, a whole lot.
That's what
right.
I'm thinking.
So who has to do the?
We do.
Yeah,
You
the
do.
the applicant.
The
Okay.
applicant has to.
So, at this point, until you get the other person to sign, we cannot go any further.
We'd have to have something in writing from
Yes.
them to say that they agree to
Yeah,
the
it's a-
proposed name change?
Yeah.
Was there a
It's
notice
a-
you had to give to in regards to the?
No, it's only a petition.
Okay.
Sure.
Or just something in writing saying that
writing.
they're not opposed to it, and then from there, it goes to the civic addressing, and our staff talk to transportation about, and then the other departments. I don't know if there's any other departments, but they talk to transportation first, which is probably not gonna be an issue if people on the, you know.
Doesn't the
So if this doesn't go through, and we're still back at having a problem people finding us, for example, emergency vehicles, as it did that night, that fire department was looking for us, then I guess my next question would be, dispatch has to be a little bit more certain about where we live, obviously, because they sent the fire department to Bloomfield that night. And 40 minutes later, the house would have been burnt down if there was a fire, or
See,
somebody
we
could have been
had to
dead.
change, that's how Cologne Road got changed. Was
And that's our big
because they had
concern is-
Cologne Road and Broad Cove Road. And what was happening every time, we'll say it ended at 1432 and it went around the turn and it was 17-something, and they couldn't find these 300 numbers, but they were at the other end. So we had to have a petition and that was all dealt with.
I mean, the other things, the deliveries and stuff, I just added that in, we added in to show
Yeah.
that it's been an ongoing thing with our,
I would include those arguments within when you send it off, or.
Well,
there.
You know, right in the Department of Transport, they don't want duplication of names. That's one of their things.
It's a
they say.
safety, it definitely is a safety.
So Bloomfield, like, it's kind of, could be confusing.
Yeah, Freeport
is,
Street,
obviously.
Tiverton, or something.
So then, do you think you could have something back to us at Committee of the Whole?
I can try, I'll get
Okay.
Jim to go see him and see what he says.
And
I
I'll
think
review
you
the
have to.
policy too, and see if it says, like, I don't know if it has to be 100%, or, I mean, right now it's
Well, that was
50%.
50%, yeah.
But considering there's only 2 people, it would be good to have them on board.
It was like 70% or 2/3, wasn't it, or something like that?
Actually, he mentioned when Jim talked to him first, well, I don't call it the Adams Road, which wouldn't do, so that's what we're thinking about, but, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And historically, I put that in there then.
Yep.
The land grant, everything southwest of that road belonged to the Adams family for years.
Yeah.
All kind of fits in, but, yeah, okay, I'll see what I can do.
All righty.
Thank you.
All right. The next is the Chief Administrator's Officer's Report. Meeting dates, March 25th, 6 PM, shared services, that's McAlpine, Adams, and Tudor. March 27th, UNSM Regional Meeting, that's here, and it's at 11 a.m. March 30th, there's no meeting, and April 6th, there is a meeting for David.
Only?
You wanted to come, didn't you?
Well, yeah, it's like, woo-hoo, can't wait, bring a bunch of chocolate.
Well, I just wanted to make sure.
They had chocolate smeared all over my face, passed out in the middle of the.
March 13th, 4 PM. Remember, this is a time change for Committee of the Whole that day.
April 13th.
April 13th is 4. April 20th, the following week is 4 for bylaw and policy.
We should
That would
look
be a
into maybe
budget
changing these once you retire.
And that's budget.
I mentioned that.
And then April 21st is the Planning Advisory Committee of Gregory, Adams, and Tudor. And April 27th at 6 o'clock is council. Okay. Now, is there any questions or concerns? Update on the action items, update on the capital projects, update on the special projects initiative, decision directional request is the recycling contract with Scotia Recyclers. So,
I thought the,
Has our lights all been switched
Yeah, I was
on?
just
No.
gonna ask that.
oh yeah, the comfort station.
Because of
not
the
the
weather?
generators.
I don't know, but they're not all done because they were supposed to fix
I
some
think-
and they haven't done it.
I think weather has been
Yeah.
brutal. Enough said.
What about the private individuals that have the old yellow lights in their yards? They can still keep those?
Those theirs.
Yeah, but they're not gonna
I think
switch those.
They're theirs.
Oh,
If they're privately owned, I would assume, I don't know. Like, Nova Scotia Power would switch them out, I would
They
think.
won't even touch them. I had one I called about.
Well, I think they're, well, if they're renting them from Nova Scotia Power, Nova
Yeah.
Scotia Power owns them,
Yeah.
so they would be switching them out to LED.
Themselves. I mean,
Yeah.
but I mean, if I own it, it's mine and I'm not renting it, it's mine. We took one down.
Yeah, they said we had to even get an electrician in if we
Yeah.
wanted to do anything they wanted the Legion.
Just where you're talking about lights, there is a light burnt out. It's been burnt out for quite a while in Conway. Do you know where the Speedy Auto Glass is? It's where Tri-County Truck and Marine used to be. The light shines over the road as you were going to go up under the ridge, and it's way up high. So it'd be a street light, but I just want to make sure it doesn't get missed when they go and change the lights out.
So,
Well, they were supposed to change the one here over a month ago. This one burnt out forever at Jimmy Dunn's in Lansdowne. And I gave Terry the number, and he said it would be done right away because they were out there. Still not changed.
I saw the beaten black McDonald trucks today coming from Weymouth going towards Digby, so they're working in the area. So they had
So if we could
two
have
bucket
that
trucks
Lansdowne
and
checked
another
again.
truck, and so they are
She just
around.
sent me two more emails about it.
Okay.
She thanked me.
well,
Not
I mean,
being-
there's just, the weather has been,
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
that's
but
there's
understandable.
no place
That's
on the
understandable.
road where they can actually stop a truck
It's not
right
safe.
now. It's
Not
not
safe.
safe.
Snowbanks and change those.
So
Linda, I have a
Okay,
question.
so, yes, sir.
Any development on the comfort stations for Tiverton? Have you had a chance to talk to anybody?
I haven't.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
No, we have not set up the meeting yet. Dan has been, until this evening, Dan has been quite
Busy.
occupied. So as of this evening, I will require some Dan time, and we will work on getting the meeting together.
Okay, just wondering.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
okay, so can we have direction for recycling contract with Scotia Recyclers?
Now, this agreement mirrors the agreement that we previously had with Scotia Recyclers, which we were part of with the town of Digby and the Municipality of Clare. As of April 1st, we will be dealing directly with Scotia Recycling. So this is a 5-year contract with payments. So for this year, it'd be the same price, I think it's $132.50 per metric ton, and then it increases gradually each year to, in the fourth year, $142.50. So it's the exact same contract or agreement, other than that it's 5 years and has the payment terms.
how's everything been going since we've been?
Good. We haven't had any issues with residuals, beyond, the
Acceptable amount?
the acceptable amounts. Our hauler and actually Barry have gone up and met and saw the facility in Kentville and have worked things out with, met their on-site staff, so everything seems to be working well with that. So,
Okay.
yeah. And they actually, Scotia Recyclers were down here and looked at our facility just to see how we are at the present time sorting between the two types of recyclables. But as far as I know, and I don't know, Greg is in the process of purchasing a 60-40 split.
Supposed to be here tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes, he told me yesterday he was,
So we all know.
I know, 'cause he came and saw me today, so I know,
So hopefully that'll help with the
Well, I
actually
do
sorting of the recyclables between the paper and the plastic.
thank you so
Um,
much.
okay.
Appreciate that.
I just was concerned, or not concerned, but wondering how things were going, where we're dealing with them directly now compared to before.
But we're also
Well-
dealing with Kentville.
Well, right now, it's
That's
still, until the 1st of April, it's,
Still going to Claire.
yeah,
But after that, it'll be going from here up.
to Kentville. Yeah.
And have we determined yet how we're going to ship from here?
Jeff, I think, has been working on that with Greg, and I think they've come to a
So what we're dealing with, I think everyone would agree that there was a fair number of unknowns heading into April, and it's a challenge for us and a challenge for Greg. So what we've come up with is a trial solution for April. As these negotiations were ongoing, the town was going through the same negotiating process. So he, I guess, had hinted that he was open for at least a short term of direct hauling till we get some feel on volumes and what the transfer station storage is like, and how much we can store, and whether this works on what the town's strategy is and what our strategy is. So for the month of April, he's agreed to direct haul while we assess how that's gonna work and how the storage volumes work out in the transfer station. And then we'll be in a position where either he will be more comfortable investing in the type of equipment we need moving forward, or we will be more comfortable.
When you say direct haul, are you meaning that the truck that's going around picking the stuff up is actually gonna haul it up, or are they gonna take it off there and put it into the 50-foot containers and then?
It's likely going to be potentially a combination of those two activities, depending on how he manages the transfer station volumes. The paper products we're allowed to compact a fair bit. We can put those, actually, we've got, during the tour process of Scotia coming down, permission that we can put those in a compactor truck and run the ramp. Paper products, so that increases the volume. We can send of those a lot.
Right.
And then with the other materials, it will likely be the roll-on, roll-off dumpster hauled up. And then once this 60/40 arrives and we see just how it's working and what kind of volumes are actually going into it,
Yeah.
he's gonna make up his mind, because that same equipment is gonna be running up the road with some of the town's product, right?
Yeah, my concern is that the more you handle it, the more chances of breakage, rip bags, and contamination.
When Scotia was down, the concern over the condition of the bags was not theirs. It's the only comment I can offer. We took them through the entire facility, showed them the conditions of our bag at their facility, and as far as our material goes, as long as it's sorted, as long as it's sorted and the plastics are not compacted, they don't care the condition of the material or the bags. So that was one of the things we needed to get cleared up before and they made that very clear.
All right.
Okay. So can we have a motion for accepting the recycling contract with Scotia Recyclers?
So moved.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next, the approval of the February 2015 payables in the amount of $355,532.34.
So moved.
Seconder.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next was the income and expense report. Any questions? Hearing none. The correspondence. Annapolis Spectator editorial, March 5th. Historic Gardens March newsletter. Premier McNeil's Aquaculture Development in Nova Scotia. Aquahalt and Corpse Rapport Commissioner Airs, Nova Scotia. Okay, next
The only,
is
I just want to, the letter from the Premier regarding the aquaculture is in response to our request, our concern regarding moving some of the industry forward.
Yes.
Just make a comment about the Annapolis Historic Gardens winning that award. That was quite something.
Yeah.
Should we perhaps send them something? We are kind of a partner with them, aren't we not?
Yeah. So you make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we send them a letter of congratulations on the award. It's what, the best garden in
Yeah.
Canada, wasn't it?
It's one of the,
Yeah.
that was in that book.
Yeah.
Do I have a seconder?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 You know what we meant?
I was just looking over this, I didn't catch the first part.
It's about the historic gardens receiving.
Oh, yes, sorry, yeah. Okay. I was just checking out Premier Neal's reply there.
Is there any, under correspondence, is there anything else anybody wants to discuss? That aquafall, the only thing I would say with that is that we could maybe make that information available to our MLA, where it's the province maintains the roads around here. It may be something, a good piece of information for him.
Sorry, which one?
The aquafall.
Aquafall?
I think we're gonna try, if we can obtain it, we looked into it before, and I think we're gonna try, we're just about done our, we carry a small amount of patching material at the airport, just for things that pop up, and I think we're going to look into it as a test, just to see how.
Is that the one that has cement? No.
No, I don't think.
Because there was one on the news channel in
Red water
Halifax
and
they
it
were
goes-
using. A mixture of something with cement.
Okay,
Cold
we're-
mix asphalt repair.
All right. Okay, we're going to move on to the standing committees. In 11.1, the bylaw and policy recommendations is the letter to Minister Churchill regarding the former DNR property. Has everybody had an opportunity to read the letter?
Yep.
Can I have a motion for approval of the letter to be sent off?
So moved.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. 11.2, Committee of the Whole recommendations to the intermunicipal service agreement for the Digby Clare Community Energy Enterprise. Can I have a motion for approval of the intermunicipal service agreement?
So moved.
Do I have a seconder?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. Advisory committees reports, updates. 12.1, the Digby Source Water Protection Advisory Committee, Councillor Adams.
We met January the 22nd, and do we have a meeting coming up? I don't have it written down.
I don't,
We had the
April,
PAC.
because we kind of got, that meeting was postponed from before, right?
yeah.
So we
we're-
kind of got off
Yeah,
our
we're off our regular schedule.
schedule, so
but-
I'm not sure if we did have that meeting. And that meeting was the day after, or a couple days after, we had the PAC meeting here, looking into the water source protection, and they had some interesting maps and things that might be interesting for us to have a look at, maybe at the PAC, or even to bring here to council. And I think that Jeff helped them with the information on that map.
Yeah, we could
It'd be nice to kind of have a look at it.
reach out to Tom if he can make the,
that we have?
Bruce Snell?
that, it was at Water Source, that they could bring them to PAC. They have,
A huge map.
yeah, like a 4-part, they printed it out in 4 pieces and gave it together, but it
Might be
gives
something
you a
to
very
bring
good
to the PAC just for us
impression of the
to
area.
have a look at it. Yeah. Okay.
We're now starting on 12.2.
Okay, Heritage Advisory Committee, Councillor Adams, February minutes.
I've sat on a couple of meetings with the Provincial Heritage Advisory Committee that's looking at hosting a conference here in October at the Pines. I had one last week. This week? No, last week. Today's Monday. Yeah, last week. And it's going ahead fairly well. There were some things that we had to decide so that it could be put out for promotion and publication and the theme, that kind of things, and hiring someone to do the website and social media. And I think we're moving along pretty well. So,
Very good, thank you.
I'll bring you up to date as soon as we know some more.
Planning Advisory Committee, Warden Gregory, Councillor Adams, and Tudor. We are not having our meeting until next week. I believe it's next week.
Next month.
Next month.
But, yeah, April 21st.
Planning Joint RCMP Advisory Board, Warden Gregory, Councillor Adams. We just had our meeting. We had a report from Staff Sergeant Rocky Calhoun. He does an excellent report on what's happening. Big thing that's been happening a few times is, as you heard on the radio, leaving your keys in your vehicle or leaving your vehicle unlocked. You may end up with a missing vehicle. We had, that we noticed some of the crime rate was down, but they are still being busy with things taking longer than what it did before. We
What do
were-
you mean, things taking longer than they did before?
All right, we'll say that they get called for a person that needs to go to the hospital and
Mental health.
for mental health, and they have to stay there until everything's dealt with. Well,
Mhm.
like, could be a while.
Some sort of person.
I wouldn't change that.
Yeah.
No, they need a person for that.
So, otherwise, I mean, it was a good meeting. We finally got our government approval for being a joint committee after 2 years. So that was really good. Only 2 years
It
in coming.
required legislative changes in order to allow the type of committee that we formed to be in place, so that's,
And as usual, we're first.
We're leading the way,
We
Linda,
always
one
do.
thing after another.
There was a January minutes in the membership in the Nova Scotia Association of Police Conference. The cost is $100 till October, and then it's $200.
that was 200 and 400.
Yeah, but 100 from us, 100
Oh.
and 200.
Okay.
To belong to the membership in the Police Association so that we can be part on the board and different things. So I am asking a request for this council to give approval for membership in the Nova Scotia Association of Police Governments.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
At this time, do
Contrary
you want
minded.
someone to be nominated to represent our area?
No, I don't think. I think we gotta wait till the see if the town's gonna agree.
Okay, just wondered.
You interested in being on the board?
I thought you might be.
I might be, actually. The next is the Remo Advisory Committee. Warden Gregory, Deputy Warden McAlpine. There has not been a meeting.
No meeting, but a lot of great weather updates from Dawn.
Oh, they
2 or
have
3
been
days.
fantastic.
I read them too.
Yeah, like almost daily during February.
Oh, isn't that awful?
Sometimes twice.
Well, we're just so glad it's spring and there's no snow.
Yeah.
Where?
But the bees are buzzing.
Flin Flon, Manitoba, there's no snow there.
Oh, I know, out west some places, no.
There's rainbows.
Okay, the next is the Western Regional Housing Authority, Richard Fitzgerald. No report.
Did
The
he-
next-
We ever get a report
We do every 4 months.
every 4 months? Okay.
I'm just
But this
wondering
was a
how
little
I
late.
that,
do, but,
yeah, I'm just wondering how that, accessibility
get it.
issue for the, down at Island Manor was coming along, so I guess I'll have to wait till the next meeting, I guess.
Yeah, we can't answer it.
Yeah.
Regional Joint Committee reports updates, the Age-Friendly Community Planning Committee, we've already discussed.
We haven't had a meeting since I,
no,
No.
I'm thinking now that the plan, I don't know what stage it is with the town. I think next is to determine what steps, is it that same committee?
Or a small one,
Or a
yeah.
different committee will go
Yep.
forward? Or that committee will still continue?
So, Linda, you're going to discuss that? Okay. The next is the Bay of Fundy Marine Transportation Association. We are having a meeting with Bay Ferries on Friday afternoon at 2:30 here after the regional meeting. We're discussing schedule and what's going on and that type of thing. Hopefully, we all know that the ferry should be starting in June here. That would be nice to see.
When do they let us know the name, when they choose the name by?
I assume when they do a press release by the feds, because we haven't heard who won or anything. That's what last time I asked, they said that they would let us know. I think it's been chosen, but I just think and I don't know that, I just think it. Because there was a deadline, and that deadline's way past. The next is Digby and Area Affordable and Supportive Housing Group, Counselor Tudor.
We had a meeting on the 3rd, some regular business was discussed, they've been going back and forth with Halifax, and they checked out a building to discuss whether or not it would be suitable for their purposes, i.e. renovation for housing.
That was the convent, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what they thought.
Oh, no, just from the minutes I had read. The next is the Digby Annapolis Development Corporation, Deputy Warden McAlpine, Counselor Tudor.
There hasn't been any meetings for a number of months. Do we know if we're going to ever have a meeting regarding the final closure of, like, you know, the sale of the property, and what are we doing with the land, or the monies from it?
Are you the
I can
chair?
check with Warden Ritchie. Or
Okay.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, are you the chair?
No, Warden Ritchie is,
Yeah, ask for the meeting and get it going.
yeah,
So you can,
because it's been at least 4 months.
Oh, so more than that, which is
Oh, I
what
say at
happened
least.
here.
So, because we sold the property, and
yeah, you need to finalize that stuff. Digby Area Learning Association, Counselor Manzer, there's Della February minutes, the CRC February report, the DCEC February report, the Executive Director's February report, and the Learning Grove February report.
Yeah, lots going on at the Dallas Center. Numbers are good in most of their classes. They've got a lot of programs running or, coming on stream. And the numbers are up at the Learning Grove, so that's kind of encouraging to see that that's
That's a money
getting
maker.
better.
That's great.
Yep.
Any questions? The next is the Digby Area Recreation Commission, Warden Gregory Thompson Manzer. There's the February minutes and March reports. I do want to say that our people have been picked that are going to Halifax, and they didn't announce it at our last meeting, did they?
What last meeting? No, because
Oh, it was
you were
can-
meeting after the meeting and you couldn't tell us whatever.
That's right, and this last meeting was canceled because of the weather. I was thinking that was supposed to be done, why wasn't it done? So I still can't tell you.
No, it's on Facebook.
Yeah, it's on in the paper.
And on the Courier site.
I read it in the Courier.
What?
Yeah, the Courier.
Okay, well,
From my area.
Can we
Did you
know?
volunteer?
Can we know now?
well, I mean, I thought we were supposed to go through the board and have it approved first, but,
It's out
okay.
there.
The town is Neil Pache, and the Weymouth one is Mr. Stacy Saban.
Stacy Dowsett.
Dosett. And I'll be up front, when we did it, we went strictly, we went strictly by activities. Excellent. So, that's done. Right now, Bob has gone on vacation. He is in Florida with his kids for a week. And probably having a wonderful time. They left on Sunday,
They dropped, no.
even if I wasn't invited. The next is the, the Digby Area Tourism Association, Counselor Manzer.
They had a meeting on Thursday, which I couldn't attend. It was supposed to be Wednesday, then because of the snow, it got put to Thursday. And I had March break activities going on with the grandkids, so I couldn't make it. But they did send me the minutes, which I couldn't open. I don't know if I can send them. I don't know. I'll try sending them. My computer wouldn't let me open it.
Okay. Digby Development Agency, Warden Gregory, Deputy Warden McAlpine.
We had a meeting on March the 3rd, and we had gotten a report from Dan Harvey on the cold storage facility report, which you heard tonight. We had discussions on the development of title, how we're moving forward with that. And we talked about, working with the Port Authority regarding that movement of the title. And that was about it for that meeting.
Any other questions? Okay. The next is the Digby Harbor Port Association. We met on Thursday night. Staffing, they have been assigning and recording birth each slots. Jennifer and Ed have been keeping this office running smoothly. Arnold Doty is performing maintenance duties in boat counts. And also a shout to Arnold because he discovered an alarm on a vessel contacted the owner and stayed on site providing remote assistance until the situation was neutralized. You know, you get a lot of vessels down there. We wouldn't want to think. Vessel agreement forms were distributed. They're getting some back. We are doing a security manual, procedures manual for occasional use facilities, and that has been approved by Transport Canada. And we have been meeting with the DDA, and we're looking at activities on filling voids in the spur wharf until weather permits work to resume. And Grant Thornton has the year-end information to complete the reporting and accounting entries of the 24 physical year. And our AGM is going to be on April 16th, 2015 at the Town Hall. Okay. You want to hand that to Pat so she can have it for our next meeting? To go all be approved of it. Just so I have it in paper today. Okay, the next is the Digby Library Committee, Deputy Warden McAlpine.
There's been no meeting. That we meet probably about once a year, and I expect that, we'll probably meet before we do our budget. So we'll have to set up. We're going to need to set a meeting up with the town. It's representation from the town and ourselves. So we'll hopefully before next council we'll have a meeting. Well, I'm speaking of, can I ask a question? I meant to ask it earlier regarding the policing. When I was reading through the package, under the police advisory report, it had mentioned something about that, like where we're doing a review
Yes.
on policing. But what bothered me is one sentence that said, why is, and my question is, why is somebody gathering a contact list of resources for Yarmouth in conjunction with Clare? Why is it? I thought that we were looking at, there was Clare and ourselves in the town, they were doing a review there. But when I read that report, it mentioned in it that they were going to be, they're compiling a contact list of resources for Yarmouth in regards to Metagan and Clare. That's what it said. So are they trying to do something that way?
That's not my understanding from what Staff Sergeant reported, was that he had been working with, they're collecting data, just raw, hard data, but my understanding it was for the Clare, Digby, and Digby review. So I don't know.
In our package, it says
record.
Yarmouth.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
So that raised a red flag for me as to, what's going on here? Everything else has gone to Yarmouth regarding policing with the highway patrol, and they already have dog control and major crime and everything else. So anyway, I wanted
Unless they were talking about, some of the traffic services that are out of Yarmouth. That could be, that are currently out of Yarmouth.
Or they could be discussing.
It didn't say that. The way it's in our package, it says they're gathering a contact list of resources for Yarmouth in conjunction with Metagan and Clare. So that's why I wanted to read it earlier and I forgot it.
I want the details.
So that's
on
the
that.
minutes you're looking at from January?
No, it's in our package. I have to find it again.
It's in the minutes.
Did you find it?
Linda, could it be that, how there's that
It's joint, isn't it?
matching police
Oh, no,
officer
it's
that
not.
Thomas gave us, and it turned out
Police
he
is,
lives in Yarmouth?
So, I think they're doing it for the whole area.
Maybe they're trying to
Oh, yeah,
include
they are
something-
doing it for the whole area.
Okay.
But the review that we're doing is for the three, Clare, Digby,
Yeah.
and Digby.
Yeah, that's
But they're
fine.
gathering all the information for that whole area.
But the way it was worded, it was
Yeah,
like
it was.
looking at the resources of Yarmouth in conjunction with Metagan and Clare.
That's the minutes, and the minutes may not reflect accurately exactly what was said.
All
but
right.
I can follow up to make sure, but I think
Well-
what he indicated, because there's been a person, sort of a consultant or someone who used to be with the RCMP that has been down doing a data collection, and so they're doing it for the area, they may do it for a bigger area. But I have had contact with staff from the Department of Justice who want to set up a meeting, and they indicated the 3 CIOs is who they want to meet with first to talk about it. So
All right.
there's nothing really in there that's about Yarmouth right now.
Okay.
Valid point, though, thank you.
That may not even be what he said.
Okay, so the next
Well, I don't know what I read.
is the Digby Municipal Fire Association, Counselor Tudor, December 2014 minutes.
I got the minutes a few weeks ago, but there's been no notification yet of the next meeting. If it goes a little longer, I might just remind them that it's me now, or maybe I'll send them an email.
Well, don't they
No,
put that,
no, no,
don't
you-
they put that out at dispatch anyway?
Bruce is to let us
Bruce
know.
now.
whenever
Okay,
there's a
then,
meeting.
fine, I'll just wait.
Question?
Yes?
In regards to the Fire Association report, I had a couple of comments. One was when I read the report, that in Clare, they actually have a bylaw called Bylaw 31, which means that they issue the burn permits, and they're issued by the chief of the local area where the permit's to be used. And we don't have anything like that in place, and I wanted to know
No,
if
but
we
we
may
have
consider.
11 fire departments.
Yeah, I
The
know, but
local
they
fire
have about 7 or 8. So I guess my question is I'd like to get some more information on their bylaw,
Okay,
so we can look at it at a future bylaw and policy meeting,
I'm just writing it down as you speak.
okay? That's one. And the second thing, too, under the Fire Association report, it was noted in there that the civic numbers we need to enforce the bylaw for the civic numbers, because they still have a problem seeing the numbers they're not displayed right, and they're not uniform. So that was in that association report. So I think we maybe need to there again.
What our bylaws say, and I don't know if it's actually in the bylaw, but the practice has been that we are relying on the fire departments to let us know when they see that there isn't adequate civic addressing, and once they contact us, then we start the enforcement process.
Okay,
I can't say that we've had any.
can I ask the Councillor Tudor take that back to the next association meeting?
Can you do that?
I'm sorry, just talk about EHS, what was that?
At the next association meeting for the Fire Association, I'd like for you to raise the issue with the fire departments in regards to civic numbering, and that if they have issues with certain households or civic numbers, that they need to bring that to our attention.
Yeah, that has to come to the office here.
In regards to burn permits, I've always just gone to the local fire chief and gave him $5, and there was the burn permit.
No, burn permit is done through the Department of
Natural resources.
She's down the islands, they just drop off a few dollars to the fire department, and then you go burn.
George,
Lastly, maybe before we have more discussion on that, maybe we should find out how the system worked last year, where people went online to see if it was possible to burn or
Yes.
not. It was,
For the province.
There's a new,
right.
it's not permitting anymore, is it?
No, you just went online to see if it was like a green or a red or our area.
Yeah, you're right,
If
they
it
did
was
change
green,
that.
you could burn. If it was red, you didn't burn.
And it gave times,
Yeah.
between such and such a time.
So,
That might be a moot point now.
well, if we're gonna switch back and forth every year, people are soon gonna get confused. You used to have a permit, now you don't, and next year you do. And,
That's right, that was the thing.
I forgot about that.
but maybe we could find out if there were, a lot of fires out of control, or people burning when they shouldn't have, from the fire department, possibly.
With regards to that, though, I think it's an important thing to discuss and gather information on it, because all our fire departments are volunteer-based. And when someone lights a grass fire, regardless if they have a permit or not, and it gets out of hand, it takes a lot of man-hours to put those fires out. And, it's one thing to go and fight a fire when it's started accidentally on a house or a structure. But when they're deliberately set fires just to burn some grass, it's not fair to the fire department and the members of the departments to have to do that. So there's got to be some way to control it. What I mean by that is the issuing of a permit in the past is always, you kind of know what's going on, and maybe you have a chance to talk to the homeowner when they come in for the permit. Like what I liked about the Clare piece, and I don't have enough information on it, and that's why I wanted to get the bylaw, is they have to go to the fire chief to get the permit. So maybe the fire chief has a conversation with the person, I don't know, but that's what I'd like to know,
Yeah, it's,
because,
one way or the other, I don't
Yeah.
mind the permit thing as long as we don't kind of switch every year back and forth.
no, and I agree.
And see how
Yeah.
because it's easy to do online, you just go online in the morning and check and see if it was,
Yeah.
could burn today or not. In the civic numbering system, maybe in our next coastline, we could have a little blurb about civic numbers.
We have recently too, about a year
I don't
ago.
know, he's probably got no space left this year, or this,
Too late for April, yeah.
but maybe if we can remember.
I know there's been a lot of education or just public service announcements about with the snow, making sure that your civic address is visible, so.
Make sure your
Have to
house
dig
is
down
visible.
to get.
Good luck with that.
But it has brought
I know.
that issue to the forefront.
Mailboxes too.
Someone got their dory smushed by the plow. I got a call about it yesterday. Their dory got flat. She says, all I was looking for was an apology. She got told off instead. She called about it.
It's supposed to be in the water now, already.
Okay, we are gonna keep going. The next is the Highway 101 Task Force, Warden Gregory, Counselor Adams. There has not been a meeting. 1313, King's Transit Authority, Warden Gregory. You have the February newsletter, January minutes, and February report. The meeting is again this coming Wednesday in the afternoon. We're working on a strategic. Okay. All right. Maritza first.
Just going back to the 101 task force, the safety audit
Yes.
is hopefully coming out sooner than later.
Supposed to be.
Yeah, just so that people know that it was supposed to be in December, then it got moved. We've heard May, but it may be out earlier than that, so hopefully. Okay,
As soon as we have that, then we will have our meeting.
that's right.
Jimmy?
With the King's Transit report,
Yeah.
I'd like for us to commend our drivers, very much so, because we've had a 55% increase, and that's awesome. I mean, we've got a ridership of 39,476, almost hitting 40,000. And I'd really like to see us maybe somehow send a letter from our council to the individual drivers, because there are ambassadors on the bus. And, you know, yeah, we've done some stuff to try to help the ridership as far as having free rides, but this is this takes in more than just that. I mean, the bus drivers must be doing a great job, and they're getting the numbers up there. And I looked at the numbers for the whole corridor, and we're pushing being, like, you know, some of the highest numbers as far as increases. So I'd like
Yeah.
for us to acknowledge our drivers and send a letter to them thanking them for the work they do.
Making that a motion?
I am.
Seconder?
What about $10 coffee
Second.
cart?
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. As I was saying, we are working on the strategic plan. We're going back up again Wednesday for another 2-hour session before our next board meeting. I just received today, this afternoon, our newsletter that hasn't just arrived. And wrong way. Oh, there it is. It's down. I hate it when I'm looking for something twice. Anyway, it was commented about what was happening with our ridership, and the Annapolis bus is going for a retrofit, the old one, and that will be a cost. Did you get it? Oh, okay.
Just, like you said, it came in today.
So that's why it's not out. We'll
It'll
send it.
come out next council.
Also, are we still having a lot of trouble with our new bus?
Yeah, I noticed it wasn't on there.
We'll see.
You see it one day and the next day you don't, type thing? And
Yeah,
it's-
but see, I will know on Wednesday,
Okay.
because I brought up that I want payment for time. I mean, we're still,
Under the
we're losing
under the
money.
warranty, yeah.
Yeah, besides the warranty. So I won't know that until Wednesday night. George?
Has there been any route changes with the bus, or are they still going downtown?
Everything's the same.
Everything's the same.
Everything's the same.
So that 5-minute issues, it's all.
No, No, we're still working on it. Wheels move slow, even if it is a transit.
Wheels of justice.
The wheels of the transit.
They just, they're trying to get things done, but it's a slow-moving vehicle. The next is the Senior Safety Committee, Counselor Tudor, Deputy Warden McAlpine.
We haven't had a meeting since the last one. Imagine there will be one rescheduled shortly.
Okay. Shared Services Committee, Deputy Warden McAlpine, Counselors Adams and Tudor. I see you are going to have a meeting
This week.
this week, so there's nothing to report. Transport Declare, Counselor Manzer.
We haven't had a meeting since the last time Clarendon was here
Uh-huh.
a couple of weeks ago, and then we had a meeting back in January. We had the minutes for that, so. There isn't anything else to report other than he was here, presented his budget, and is looking for a little bit of an increase. For the.
A little bit?
A little bit. For the service they provide, I think it's well worth, the money, whatever we spent in the past, it's well worth it. He knows where every dollar goes, he knows where it comes from, and he knows if he gets $1,000 donated from a business in Weymouth, that money goes back to the Weymouth area, and, I don't think it'll be like that when another manager takes over. I mean, he's still gonna be there, but he has his finger on everything. He knows
At a
what's
touch.
happening and where the money's going to and where it's coming from. And
I know.
it's just like his own money, or he spends
Yeah.
it like it's his own. He's very frugal.
Very diligent. Tyview Terrace, Counselor Manzer. The October 2014 minutes are here.
It's October.
Meetings been few and far between. We had a meeting last week, no, a couple of weeks ago or whatever. I didn't make it anyway because our road didn't get plowed out till after supper, but they went ahead, they had to meet ahead of quorum, so we had the meeting anyway. And those were the minutes from October.
Maybe they'll send you the minutes and what went on at the last meeting.
Well, the next meeting, yeah. So, we have a meeting tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Upper Clemens Park Society, Counselor Adams, February minutes.
Okay, I missed the February meeting, and I gather that they came to make a presentation, and
Excellent.
I hope that you're quite impressed with Gino. He's got a lot of good ideas,
Yeah,
new
he-
ideas,
Yeah.
and hopefully things will go forward. We were supposed to have a meeting last Thursday, but that got postponed because of the storm till this Thursday, so.
I'm definitely getting the year-long, year pass. It's a good pitch.
So am I. Waste check, Warden Gregory, Deputy Warden McAlpine, February minutes and reports.
We met on March the 9th, our last meeting. That meeting, we were given the draft budget for consideration, so there was no decision made yet. The board just saw it that it's the first time, and at our next board meeting, we'll be discussing it. I don't see anything of any issues pertaining to the budget that's been presented. Also, we talked about, we had a little talk about when we had our meeting by video conferencing. Overall, I think it went well. What was good about it was we kind of broke up into two groups. So you got half the board in Yarmouth and half the board here, because the Clare representative came up here and met with the Digby town and ourselves, and
No, Claire went to Yarmouth.
Pearl came here. Connie went to Yarmouth.
Yeah, okay.
Pearl
yeah,
came here.
You're right.
So they split. But anyway, it worked out quite well for only the first time as ever doing it, and I could see us doing it again in the future. I don't see every meeting having to be we'll go video conference, but with doing the budget and stuff, I think we're doing that face to face.
Yeah, we're saying
but-
one a year.
But if we're not sure what we're gonna do yet.
Yeah, but that was what we had
Yeah.
agreed to, and there was a
Orig-
motion made it.
At first, but we're also down to 6 meetings a year, so I believe we dropped it to 6.
Yeah.
But other than that, we had reports from staff on the work that they've been doing, and it's ongoing education and enforcement. So, and the RFB's having their dinner for the students that's coming up in April for the awards. That's all I can remember from the
You
meeting.
covered it. April the 13th. I don't think they've sent out the
Final.
invitations yet. Western Counties Regional Library, Deputy Warden McAlpine.
I was supposed to have a meeting last week, and we canceled it because of the weather, so it's
I'm
gonna...
shocked.
This year?
So we're gonna have it in, first part of April.
Okay. Western Regional Enterprise Network Liaison and Oversight Committee, Deputy Warden McAlpine.
I attended a strategic planning session that was put on with our CAO and with our with Terry Thibodeau, our renewable energy climate change coordinator. And they had that down at St. Anne's University, and it was attended by roughly 50 to 55 people. And it was an all-day session. I thought went very well. It's given them a direction on moving the Ren forward. So just haven't heard nothing else back from that yet, but they'll be working on the consultant was going to be putting it together, and I think getting back to them in April with the report from that. So.
Next is the Weymouth Doctor Recruiting Committee, Warden Gregory, Counselor Manzer. We have not had a meeting, and
April, I think it is.
it's April, but I don't know the date right now, so it could look like.
Did we get those packets sent off to the doctors in February?
No, we didn't.
No.
There was a few things that happened, and we did not do that. We can still look at something else. Yeah, April 14th. With our next meeting. Council reports. Let's start with you today. George?
It's going to be short because I left my book home with all my dates and everything in it. So, other than I remember the Forestry Association on March 7th in Clare. Myself and Maritza attended that. And it was a good day for the forestry. So other than that, I'll pass it over to Dave.
No, I'm doing it different
I
today.
can't remember anything.
Dave last.
No,
Not
Dave.
at all.
No, Dave is not lying.
That'd be okay.
Maritza?
I'm just going to go back for February, since I wasn't here in council February. I did attend a luncheon with Tony Ince and also Flag Day ceremonies for the 50th anniversary of the Canadian flag at the high school. It was an excellent presentation and speakers. And I went also to the Woodlot Owners Association Western Region in Soniaville with George, and I found it was very well put on in that every 25 to 30 minutes they changed topics, so it kept your interest, and they had some very interesting topics related to our area. One of the ones they brought in as a substitute was endangered species, and she was quite interested. She said people are scared, it was kind of cute, scared to let them know that they've seen an endangered species, because then they think, oh, I'm not allowed to cut on my property anymore, I'm not allowed to do this and that, but they want to know from as many people as they can sightings so that they know that they're out there or where they are and that kind of thing. So I thought that was quite interesting. I also went on the 10th of March to the Fundy YMCA for the Y Reach, it was called, with Jill Balser. It was an open house. I represented the warden, and it was very interesting. I talked to a couple of ladies that are in charge of it provincially, one from the Y and one, I'm not sure where the other one was from. And the conversation was around the fact that it's a 6-month pilot project. And I said to her, well, considering the Ivany report and the fact that immigration is one of the big pillars of the Ivany report, you would think that the government would be giving you some money. And she says, well, we're pretty sure we're going to get it, but they're not positive. And I said, well, I find that really hard to kind of digest, as well as then I brought in senior safety, how they have to apply every year as well for their application. It's 25, 30-page application report, and we had asked at one point when I was sitting on it that they could at least give it for 5 years, and so that would give it some stability and they would know where their money was coming from. So I had that conversation with them about the outreach program too. And one of the ladies that had a munchies, and the lady that does
At
the
a what?
munchies.
Oh, my, I thought you said scrunchies.
No, munchies. And one of the ladies that does the has a little sushi wagon out
yes.
here at Frenchie's, she was there and she had done a tray. They were absolutely delicious, fresh, right away. You know, the whole difference in what you buy in the stores and things like that, freshly made. And she's one of the ones that Jill's working with. So it was very interesting. And I already mentioned we met here with the Rob and the Heritage Committee for the hosting the conference. And that's it, I guess.
And Mr. David, thank you.
We do a bunch of meetings. Interestingly, also, the Westport Church has contacted me, and they were asking me what they could do to help out the best a month. They were thinking hot meals, and what I think actually is just visiting people. There's several people that I visit that don't, they're not desperately in need of help or anything, but they really, a little bit of conversation when you don't have a car, and you live a little out of the ways, goes a long way. So that was my recommendation, rather than spending money, spend some time. That would do the most good as far as I could tell.
But it was nice to bring a meal and sit there while they're eating and
Yeah,
talking.
true enough. True enough. If you want time to do that, for sure. I've had 2 meetings with the Lighthouse guys. A lot of help was by the Boar's Head, Craig Buckman. Came. I bought him a fancy bottle of rum. Thank you. Really, really nice for him to drop by there. And everybody was scared. He calmed everybody down. Everybody thought it was just going to be an immense amount of work and a lot of stress, and he talked everybody down with his own examples. And really nice to have him there. What else here? Also, had a meeting with the people involved with trying to get something going, RE, the East Ferry, the sort of approach. So I was given quite a list of to-dos on that one. Yeah, just things been going very well, staying busy. My wood bank was so successful, I'm down to 2 days of wood today. That's all I've got left for myself. So I guess it was really successful. Too successful. Food bank's doing great. They gave me a whole other room in the church, and it's all filled up. It seems to have there's a real system to it. I'm not scrambling like I used to be to get food. It's just sort of, the churches have really helped out, and it's sort of, in the school especially, just always helping. So that makes it a lot more easy for me to manage, because I just mostly deal with just getting it out, as opposed to finding it and getting it out. It's sort of, as time has gone by, the community's been very helpful. So everyone being very nice, things going really well.
Deputy Warden.
Just a couple things in the last month. Since the last council meeting, which was on the 23rd of February, the next day on the 24th, we held our first inaugural meeting for the Digby Clare Community Energy Enterprise.
I had that down here.
It's a mouthful. But anyway, I thought it was a good first meeting with Clare and the town and ourselves. And we had representation from Fundy Title in the room as well. So, hopefully things can move forward with that. And then on that Saturday, on the 28th, I attended with most of the rest of the council the Southwest African Heritage Month dinner at the Legion. I must say it was probably the highest attendance I've seen at this event. And I think if they want to grow any more, they're probably actually going to have to look at a different venue, because that room couldn't have held any more people. It was full.
Of course, the fact that she had 9 children and a lot of her family was there. What, Mrs. States, was it?
Miller.
Oh, Miller, sorry.
Yeah,
Yes,
Mrs.
Miller.
Miller.
Why did I say States? Yeah,
But
Miller.
there was a huge turnout
Oh,
there.
yeah.
It was great, and it was really nice too to see the minister and play the drums with Patrick, and so I thought it was a really nice evening.
Yes.
And I think our guest speaker, although she was sort of cut off a little bit at the end, short, was Tracy Dorrington, and she was one of the people involved in the class action suit against the Home for Colored Children, and she was very well spoken.
Yes. I would like to have heard the end of her speech.
Yeah.
Good for them. There was a battle that wasn't easy for the survivors, not one
Yeah.
bit.
That's it.
Okay, I was going to mention about the first board meeting, but Jimmy already did. But nobody mentioned, which I was surprised about, was our climate change meeting
Well,
on the 26th.
I had that here, but it's just a regular meeting of council.
Well, I actually thought it was a really good upbeat, pushing it. On the 27th, we had a little working reception here with Minister Shelley Glover. Then I went up and Rob went up to the ABCC to have dinner and to do more talking. I attended the 8th Annual Southwest African Heritage Month Gala. It was enjoyable.
Sorry for you.
Oh,
And she wasn't taking care of us, we know her.
I actually attended a retirement party for Bill Willman from the hospital, which was well done. And and you attended the YMCA for me. And the only other thing that I wanted to comment on was that we had a meeting with Gordon Wilson, and I thought that went extremely well with all of us, and we will be keeping those up, 3,
It's good
4
to have the
times a year.
communication, so good.
At least 3. So, otherwise, it's been a busy, steady month meeting with people. Big concern on the snow, not being able to get out of their homes, and lack of heat, and difficulty with groceries. That's what I've been hearing in the area. Yes?
Just to let you know, I've set my district meeting for April the 28th, so you can't have that night.
April the 28th is already gone?
It is now, yes.
Did you send it through, Jim?
No, I haven't yet, but I
It's only
confirmed it
33
with
kilometers an hour,
the staff
it's
sergeant
hot.
this morning. I actually had to change the date I originally had back to the 28th.
Okay, I'm just marking that in, Marissa.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll have mine very shortly. I'm just gonna see if we can get the,
I gotta call for Hall first.
Yeah, well, that's
Before
why
I set the
Did we have anything for
I'm
informers? I
backtracking.
didn't notice anything in the, okay.
if there is no other reports, I will go to the audience. Any questions or concerns, sir?
In light of the Adams request to change the name of their road, I was wondering what's happening with the Gulliver's Cove Mallet Road application.
Gilbert's Cove.
Yeah.
Oh, Gilbert's Cove.
She's gone.
Was the survey done, or?
I don't know, I'm not sure. We talked to
Lorraine?
Lorraine Lovett back probably before Christmas, and she didn't want to do it right then because of the season, and I wouldn't be
Probably not.
surprised if they haven't done it yet with
The
the weather
weather.
conditions and stuff, and it's hard to get around, so.
Okay, so she's waiting.
We're
So
waiting
I would
for
think
the
she,
petition.
this spring, but I haven't been talking to her, so I'm not sure,
I
but
did talk to her.
it is in the process.
I'm gonna see her, I may see her tomorrow, if I can ask.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, I'm going to
Yeah,
the
because
Barnes
we're now waiting back from the community. Anything else? Pardon me?
That's great, thank you.
Oh, noise happens when people jump up and down like
So
jumping
tired to
jacks.
stand still. It's been
Could
a
I
wild
have
story of
someone-
my life.
Could I have someone adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Thank you.